My folks whisked my brother away on some fancy vacation to celebrate his promotion. Then I opened my present a letter. It said they were cutting me off financially. My dad's words still ring in my ears. You need to learn to stand on your own 2 feet. I grabbed my stuff and left, no second thoughts. A few weeks later, the phone rang. They were freaking out. Please, my mom pleaded. We didn't mean it. Hey, I'm Callum, 27. I'm not a writer, and this is my first time ever posting something like this. But I gotta get this off my chest. It's eating me alive. I know everyone deals with family drama, but this feels different. I can't even say what hurts more, the betrayal, the total shock, or the fact that I had no clue this was coming. I've been stewing over this for weeks, and now that I've had some time to think, I need to tell someone. Okay, here goes. I had a pretty normal family life, at least outwardly. Dad was a big-shot businessman, always working, never a day off. Mom was the perfect homemaker, everything always spotless, even when it wasn't really. But honestly, they never really paid much attention to me. It was all about my brother, George. Look, I never expected to be treated exactly like George. He's always had it easy, you know. Smart, charming, successful, ace at school, ace at work, ace at everything. Growing up, it felt like I could never measure up. No matter how hard I tried, I was always in his shadow. For a long time, I didn't sweat it. I had my own thing going on, my friends, my hobbies, my job. I didn't need their approval, you know. My job paid the rent. It wasn't exciting, but it did the trick. George, my brother, he's in finance, always climbing that corporate ladder. He gets all the promotions, awards, the works. And Mom and Dad, they shower him with praise. I wasn't bitter, not really, not anymore anyway. But it always felt like their love only came my way if I did something amazing to distract them from George's latest accomplishment. So when I heard about his huge promotion, it wasn't a shock. The whole family was there, gushing about how proud they were. George went on and on about this fancy trip to Paris they were all taking to celebrate first-class tickets, the whole 9 yards. At first, I tuned him out. Just another one of his wins, right? Something that would sail right over my head like all the rest. But then it hit me, Paris. And I wasn't invited. Man, I felt, I don't even know. Mad, hurt, a whole mess of emotions. At first, I tried to ignore it. It was just a trip, right? They didn't have to invite me. Maybe it was some special family thing. Maybe I'd just feel awkward there anyway. But it kept eating at me. I kept hearing how incredible this trip was going to be, how much George deserved it. And then I started feeling like I wasn't good enough for anything special. So one night, like a week before we were supposed to go to Paris, this package shows up. At first, I figured it was another birthday thing, you know, something they'd forgot to send. My birthday's months away, but I thought, oh, they're probably just swamped. I opened it, expecting a present or maybe a card. Nope, just a letter. It was from my dad, just a plain envelope, his handwriting all over it. I didn't rip it open right away. I figured it was just family stuff, but when I finally read it, wow, it was short and it completely blindsided me. It said, Callum, we've been thinking about you. We think it's time you stood on your own 2 feet. You've relied on us for too long and you need to grow up. We can't keep helping you forever. This is part of your life. You gotta learn to take care of yourself. They ended with, we love you, but you're on your own now. I just sat there staring. It didn't make any sense. We love you, but we can't keep supporting you. What did that even mean? I've never asked them for anything, never begged for money or anything. I've always been independent. Okay, so I don't have some fancy job or live like George does, but I've always been okay with that. I've always taken care of myself. Those words on the page, they shattered something inside me. I don't think I ever realized it, but I guess I was hoping for their okay for ages. I wanted them to be proud to actually see me, but all they ever saw was my brother. I can't tell you how long I sat there holding that letter. Time felt different. I felt like I couldn't breathe, like all the oxygen was gone. I thought about Paris. They were about to blow a fortune on a fancy trip for George. And here I was getting cut off, told I wasn't worth their effort or their money. Finally, I got up and went to my room. I didn't say anything. I didn't cry or scream or try to talk them into changing their minds. I just packed my bags. I had some money saved up enough to get by for a bit, so I didn't need them. I didn't even tell them I was leaving. I just got my stuff, threw it in my car, and drove off. I didn't look back, didn't think twice. For a few days anyway, I crashed at a friend's place and started looking for a new job, something better, something that would finally prove that I could make it on my own. But it wasn't just the job anymore. It was about proving I didn't need them. I didn't need their blessing. For a little while, things were okay. But then a few weeks later, I got a call. It was my mom. I didn't answer. Then another call, and another. I let them go to voicemail. I just didn't want to talk to them. So one night, I got a message from my dad. It was brief, but there was something off about his tone. I played it. Callum, we didn't mean it. Please, we didn't mean what we said. We're sorry. Come back. We need to talk. I didn't call back. Not right away, anyway. I felt a little bad, you know. But honestly, I wasn't sure I was ready to hear them say they were sorry. I didn't know if I even wanted an apology. What good would it do now anyway? Then a couple more weeks went by. I got another message. This time it was more frantic. My mom sounded like she was about to cry. "Callum, please, we love you. Please don't shut us out of your life. We didn't mean what we said. Your dad's just stressed." But still, I didn't answer. I wasn't sure I could forgive them. Then one night I got another call. This one was different. This time they both left a message, and they sounded even more freaked out. "Callum," my dad said, barely audible, "we're sorry, we didn't mean it. Please just come home, please." That night, after I heard that message, I just stared at my phone for hours. I couldn't bring myself to call them. What the heck would I even say? How could I explain how much this all stung without sounding bitter or angry? Because, yeah, I was angry. And I didn't want to come off like the angry son who was just clinging to resentment for no reason. But there was a reason. They'd cut me off, in a way. They'd kicked me out of their lives without any warning, no explanation. Suddenly, out of the blue, they were acting like nothing had changed, asking me to come back into their lives. One evening, when I was still crashing at my friend Luke's, I gave my sister Emily a call. She's a few years older than me, and honestly, she's always been the golden child. Married, with kids, thriving in her job. She never had to put up with the mess of favoritism that I had growing up. So I called her, hoping she might have a clue about what I should do. "You're still pissed off at them, aren't you, Callum?" Emily asked right after I caught her up on everything. I took a beat before answering. I wasn't sure if my anger was directed at them or at myself, but I just said, "Yeah, I am." How could I not be? They essentially dumped me, and now when they need something, they want me to jump back in. Like that. How am I even supposed to do that? Emily went silent for a second. I could hear her sigh over the phone like she was really considering what to say next. "Listen, I understand it probably feels like they've been totally unfair to you," she said. "And I'm not saying you don't have a right to feel angry, but you gotta get that, Callum, this isn't just about you. It's about them too. They're going through their own stuff. Dad's business has been tanking for ages, and he's been so wrapped up in trying to keep everything afloat. It's been really rough on him. And Mom, well, she's been doing her best to hold it all together while he kind of falls apart. I know they don't always show it, but they're scared." That really got to me. I knew things were tough for them, but I truly hadn't grasped the weight they were carrying. Not because I thought they were superheroes or anything, but honestly, I was too caught up in my own pain. I didn't want to feel bad for them. I wanted them to feel bad for me, Emily went on. "But that doesn't excuse what they did, I know it doesn't. I just think you have to decide what you actually want, Callum. Do you want to stay mad at them, or do you want to move on with your life? Because hanging on to this forever isn't going to make you feel any better, you know. It's just going to make you resentful, and that's not who you are deep down. You're better than that." I wasn't sure what to say back. Emily was right, in a way. Staying angry forever wasn't going to get me anywhere. But at the same time, I didn't know if I could just let them back in, you know? Could I forgive them for how they'd treated me? Could I seriously just forget everything that had gone down? I hung up with Emily, but her words were still buzzing around in my head. I spent the next couple of days just mulling things over, trying to figure out what I was feeling. I couldn't really talk to George about it. I didn't think he'd understand. He was too busy in his own little bubble, wrapped up in his job, his promotion, his fancy trip to Paris. Couldn't talk to Luke either, he had his own stuff going on, so I just kept it all bottled up. Eventually, I decided to go over to my parents' place. I figured the least I could do was hear them out, you know? At the very least, I needed some peace of mind. I gave them a call, and Mom answered, her voice practically bubbling over with relief when I said I was coming over. I made it perfectly clear no moving back home, but I was ready to talk. I felt like I had to, even though I wasn't sure what I hoped to accomplish. Stepping into their house, it was like nothing had changed. Same spotless living room, same shiny furniture. Everything was exactly as I remembered it. But I was different. I wasn't the same person who'd stormed out weeks ago, all hurt and confused. I was a changed person, and I honestly wasn't sure I could forgive them. They were sitting in the living room. Dad, as always, looked totally composed, like he was in control of everything. Mom, though, she looked more broken than I'd ever seen her. Her makeup was smeared, her eyes all red and puffy. She looked like she hadn't slept in ages. She looked real, not like the perfect, picture-perfect woman I'd grown up with. And that's when it hit me this whole mess had really hurt them too. "Callum," Dad said, his voice so much softer than I'd ever heard it. "WWE owe you an apology." He went on, "I don't expect you to just forgive us, but I need you to know I'm sorry for what I said. I've been tough on you. I've been tough on both of you, but especially you." Mom didn't say anything at first, then she finally whispered, "I'm sorry, Callum. I didn't mean to make you feel like you weren't good enough. I never intended to hurt them, you know. Their apology wasn't some big, dramatic thing. It wasn't even close to enough to fix everything. But it was something, and honestly, I was totally lost on what to do. So much was still hanging in the air, unspoken, and I wasn't sure I could handle it. I just sat there, this crazy tension building, with my parents both staring at me, waiting for me to say something. A part of me really wanted to just walk out, leave them to stew in their mess, to finally get it that they'd messed up big time, that their selfishness and ignoring me had pushed me away. But another part of me, a tiny part, still hoped they could see me, really see me, for the first time in ages. This heavy silence hung between us, like a physical weight, reminding me of everything we hadn't said. Mom's eyes were all watery, she was trying so hard not to cry. Dad was more together, but his fists were clenched so tight. They were putting on a brave face, but I could see right through it. I saw how vulnerable they actually were, something I'd never noticed before. But the anger. Man, the anger I'd been carrying around for weeks. It was still there, bubbling under the surface. Thing is, I'm not the type to just explode for no reason. I didn't want to yell, to throw their words back at them. That would have been too easy, almost too satisfying. I needed to make a point, Something that would really sink in, show them I wasn't just gonna forget what happened. I wanted them to feel the weight of their actions, but I wasn't about to be mean. I wasn't looking to wreck their lives, just change how they saw me. So, I said, my voice calm but icy, you think a simple sorry cuts it? Seriously, you think everything just goes back to normal after that? My dad squirmed, totally caught off guard. He started to say something, but I raised my hand, shutting him down. You told me to figure things out myself, I said. Well, I did. I'm not the same person anymore, and you need to get that. My mom's face fell. She wanted to reach for me, I could tell, but she hesitated, probably afraid I'd pull away. She was lost, I could see it in her eyes. She didn't know how to deal with me anymore. The thing is, I went on, not giving either of them a chance to interrupt, I don't need you, not like I used to. You made it pretty clear I wasn't a priority. I've been doing my own thing, I'm managing, and you can't just waltz back in now and pretend it was all a big oops. My dad flinched, I saw him, but I wasn't done, not by a long shot. You showed me who you care about, I said, looking straight at him, and who you're willing to put your energy into. Look, George, you don't have to say sorry, I've known this for ages. I'm not that little kid anymore, the one who was desperate for you to even notice me. And yeah, Dad, you're right, I have learned a lot. I've learned how to take care of myself, how to not need anyone's okay to just be me. And honestly, it feels amazing. I just let those words hang in the air for a second, let them really sink in. This wasn't about hurting them or rubbing anything in. I just needed them to see how things really were. That I'd been living without them for weeks and I was okay. More than okay, actually. Then after a moment, I told them, I thought about coming back just to get some closure, but I think I've already gotten what I came for. I got up, ready to just walk away, but then I looked back. They looked lost, like a mix of sorry and just not knowing what to do with me. They didn't know how to handle this new me. I wasn't that quiet kid anymore, the one who just took whatever they dished out. I was standing on my own 2 feet now. But before I go, I said, my voice getting a little softer, there's something I want to tell you. I looked at Mom, then Dad. I wasn't going to lay it all out for them just yet. I wanted them to feel the change. I wanted them to really understand that I wasn't going to fit back into their little box. Dad, you said I needed to learn something. Well, I'm not that kid you left behind anymore. You don't get to control me. You don't get to decide how much I'm worth, not anymore. I looked over at my mom and her eyes got huge like she was about to say something, but I stopped her before she could even open her mouth. Mom, I know you feel bad. I can see it. But I'm not the one who needs fixing here. I don't need you trying to save me. You need to understand that I'm not your problem anymore. I'm doing good on my own. It wasn't a big fight. I wasn't yelling at them or throwing stuff or anything crazy. I wasn't gonna give them the pleasure of seeing me lose it, but I could feel the weight of what I said hanging there as I walked out without even looking back. I just left, not glancing over my shoulder. I didn't slam the door or cause a big fuss, but I knew they'd feel it. They'd feel how far apart we were, that I wasn't coming back. Not the way they wanted, anyway. For a couple of days after, they kept blowing up my phone. Texts, voice messages, everything. I didn't answer any of them, but I knew they were trying to get back in my good graces. They were freaking out. They didn't know how to fix what they'd messed up. But I wasn't just gonna let them waltz back in after everything, after the way they'd treated me. I needed them to get it, that they couldn't just ditch me and think I'd be there, waiting for them to decide to fix things. I knew that the real payback wasn't about throwing their own words back at them, calling them out, or embarrassing them. The best payback, the kind that would really sting, was just proving I didn't need them. Being completely independent, not needing their blessing. That was the revenge they never saw coming, so I just kept plugging away, getting better and better. Suddenly, other companies were reaching out, offering way better jobs than I'd ever dreamed of back in that awful place. Each offer, each success felt like a tiny, quiet triumph. A week went by, then another, and still nothing from me. My parents, they blew up my phone. Voicemails, texts, the whole 9 yards. Apologies begging me to come back, making empty promises about changing. Stuff like, "Callum, please, we're so sorry, we didn't mean to hurt you. Come home, let's talk." Some messages, you could tell they were practically crying. But I couldn't just forgive and forget. Not yet. Not the way they wanted. They figured I'd sweep it all under the rug, pretend it never happened, and go back to normal. But things were never going back to normal. I'd changed. Then their next call came, and I felt this pull to answer. I wasn't sure I was ready, but I knew it was time. I hadn't forgotten how they treated me, how they favored George over me, making me feel like I was nothing. But I also wasn't going to let that anger run my life forever. I'd finally grown up some, and I wasn't about to stay mad forever. So I picked up the phone, heart pounding. "Hello." It was Mom, and her voice was all choked up like she was fighting back tears. "Callum, I just don't know how to say this, but we are so sorry. We've been doing a lot of thinking and we get it now. You were never a burden. We should have known better. We were selfish and we regret it. God, I regret it so much." I just sat there for a second, letting her words sink in. It was the apology I'd always wanted, but it just wasn't enough. I wasn't going to just say, "Okay," and pretend everything was fine. "Mom," I said slowly, "I hear you, but it's not that easy. You can't just apologize and expect everything to go back to normal." She kind of gasped, like she wasn't expecting me to say that. I could practically hear her grasping for words, trying to make me believe they were serious, that they'd learned their lesson. But I had to make sure they understood one thing. I wasn't going to let them forget what they'd done. "You need to understand," I told her, "that this wasn't just some little slip-up. You made me feel worthless, like I was invisible unless I was jumping through hoops for you. I spent years trying to get you to notice me, trying to get your approval. And for what? To be thrown away the second I didn't meet your standards." Then there was just this long, heavy silence. Man, the silence between us felt thick, like everything that happened was still hanging there. But I wasn't done. I wasn't about to pretend everything was hunky-dory. I wasn't gonna go back to being the second string in this family thing. I'm not some spare tire you guys can throw on when you need me. I've got my own life now, and I've built it without you. It felt good finally getting those words out, like a weight lifted, you know? I'd said my piece. She just breathed out real shaky. "Callum," she said, "I get it. And I know sorry doesn't fix everything, but we're still your parents. We're here and we love you. Please don't cut us off completely." I told her, my voice steady but not mean, "I'm not shutting you out, I'm setting limits. You can't expect things to be magically okay just because you're sorry. This isn't something you can fix overnight." Then I heard my dad in the background, low and quiet. I could tell he'd been listening, picking up on the tension. He wanted to say something. "I'm sorry too, Callum," he mumbled, quieter than I'd ever heard him. "I was a jerk. I messed up and I can't change the past, but I want to make things right. I'm proud of you, you know. Whether you believe it or not, you've become a man I respect. I was always tough on you. That was my fault, not yours." I heard the truth in his voice, and honestly, something inside me cracked open. Maybe it wasn't over for us. There was a shot at fixing things, but it had to be on my terms. I wasn't going to let them steamroll me ever again. "I appreciate that, Dad," I told him slowly, "but we gotta take this slow. I'm not just going to erase everything overnight, but I'm open to trying. I'm willing to start something fresh, something better, but it's gotta be different. I won't budge on that." There was a long silence on the other end, then he sighed softly. "We'll do whatever you need, Callum, just don't shut us out." I took a big breath, the weight of the decision settling in me. It was still going to be a long, tough journey, but I wasn't going to let resentment run my life anymore. I was ready to move on, but I couldn't forget what had happened. I just couldn't, not yet. After we hung up, I just sat there for a bit, letting it all sink in. I wasn't sure what was next, but for the first time in weeks, I felt like I was calling the shots. I wasn't just some son who'd been tossed aside. I was someone who'd figured out how to handle things myself. And if I ever went back, it would be because I chose to, not because they thought I had to. In the weeks after that, I kept my distance, but I wasn't distant, you know? I'd visit them now and then, only when I felt up to it. I set limits, and they actually respected them. Slowly but surely, we started getting to know each other better in a truthful way. It wasn't always smooth sailing, but it was the genuine article. And honestly, that was all I needed. Meanwhile, George, he pretty much stayed the same. He kept to himself, totally engrossed in his own stuff, his job, his expensive trips. I stopped trying to keep up with him, stopped letting his achievements make me feel inadequate. I learned to concentrate on myself, on what I could create, not on what other people thought I should be doing. Ultimately, the real win wasn't about getting back at them or making them feel bad. It was about proving I didn't need their okay anymore. I didn't crave their validation. I could do just fine on my own. And that was the most satisfying outcome I could have hoped for.